At the Equal Rights Trust, we fight inequality. Our mission is to support equality defenders, those using the law to secure an equal world. We cannot have an equal world unless we eliminate discrimination, and we cannot eliminate discrimination without comprehensive and effective equality laws. International law requires the adoption of anti-discrimination legislation. In the last 2 decades, a growing number of governments have recognized the value of such legislation, both by adopting it and calling on others to do the same. Dozens of countries, from South Africa to Mexico to Ukraine, have enacted comprehensive equality laws. These laws wouldn't exist without the collective action of equality defenders.
Bosnia and Herzegovina started developing its equality legislation back in 2003, but it was in 2009 when the comprehensive equality law was adopted in the form of the law prohibiting discrimination. Following a draft produced by the civil society, the government formed an inclusive working group, which produced a text of the law which was mostly in line with best international and EU standards. Since then, the law proved to be an efficient instrument to challenge inequalities and discrimination in the society. It was used to address discrimination in the private sector, such as employment and access to goods and services, but also to address structural discrimination, such as segregation in schools, failure to ensure inclusive education for children with disabilities, and failure to adopt state-funded parental leave allowance schemes. Most importantly, it was used for strategic litigation in forms of collective complaints, and the possibility to shift the burden of proof allowed litigants to challenge previously unchallengeable practices. But without a comprehensive equality law, progress to date would not have been possible.
Luchar contra la discriminación es una tarea y obligación fundamental de todos los estados. Para ello es necesario que adopte medidas de diferente índole que permitan generar procesos de transformación profunda, social y cultural, para que logremos erradicar las prácticas de discriminación y nunca más se le niegue el reconocimiento, goce o ejercicio de sus derechos a ninguna persona, basados en su edad, sexo, religión, idioma, nacionalidad, orientación sexual, identidad de género, condición de refugiado, migrante o pertenencia a un grupo étnico. Por ninguna razón, a ninguna persona se le pueden negar los derechos humanos. En ese proceso es importante reconocer el valor que cobra el contar con legislaciones adecuadas, que tengan un enfoque integral, que visibilicen las diferentes formas de discriminación, pero que también alienten acciones afirmativas para poblaciones históricamente discriminadas, que establezcan mecanismos adecuados para la denuncia y la sanción de estos hechos, sobre todo la restitución de los derechos afectados y la reparación integral para las víctimas, pero que también incluya una gama amplia de medidas de prevención, que genere mecanismos de coordinación entre el Estado y la sociedad civil, aliente e impulse la rendición de cuentas y garantice recursos públicos suficientes para implementar estas leyes, así como todas las políticas que deriven de las mismas.
In countries that are yet to adopt anti-discrimination legislation, equality defenders are joining forces by forming coalitions to advocate for its development and adoption.
CLPR is a non-profit based out of Bangalore, India, and we focus on litigation and research on the issues of gender, caste, disability. I'm here to talk a little bit about our bill. It's called the Equality Prohibition of Discrimination Bill 2021, and it seeks to prohibit discrimination on the basis of 24 protected characteristics like caste, religion, gender, among many others. India does not currently have a single civil law that addresses equality and discrimination. That's why we at CLPR drafted the Equality Bill to cover all these grounds and more. And it's been an interesting journey so far. We've had many experts weigh in on the bill, and it has gone through several rounds of consultation. We are now ready to take it to the political members of the society, and that's where ERT has come in.
A comprehensive approach to the implementation of the rights to equality and non-discrimination hasn't been any more important within the context of a global pandemic and consistently questionable administrative decisions that do not reflect international, regional, and domestic commitments to ensuring that no one is left behind within the context of service delivery, and that the last mile forward is ensured and safeguarded within the context of public health. The urgency and the need to ensure an intersectional approach can only be safeguarded by collaborative work within and beyond civil society that ensures that there is a comprehensive lens in consistently questioning who is left behind, who is not in the room, who's not at the table where decisions are being made. This has highlighted that there is a need to ensure a comprehensive strategy, one that doesn't focus on silos or business as usual, but one that looks to the distinct and critical needs of those most left behind, those most vulnerable to violence and exclusion.
Comprehensive equality laws are a necessary and powerful tool to challenge discrimination and ensure equality in different areas of life. They enable us to combat inequality in education, dismantle discriminatory practices in landlord and tenant relations, and challenge the discriminatory impacts of state responses to the COVID-19 pandemic.
The Republic of Moldova became the first post-USSR country which adopted comprehensive equality legislation. This happened in 2012 when the parliament voted for a law on ensuring equality. And 1 year later, in 2014, an Equality Council was set up. This is a new national human rights institution specialized in equality and non-discrimination. The data of the Equality Council evidence that women, persons with disabilities, elderly retired persons, linguistic and ethnic minorities are those who benefit with the equality legislation in Moldova most of all. This is due to the adoption of the comprehensive equality legislation with open-ended list of grounds and setting up a strong Equality Council, a protection mechanism. We will be glad to share our experiences with other countries and contribute to the development of comprehensive equality legislation and setting strong equality bodies worldwide.
At Equal Rights Trust, we support those using the law to create an equal world. We know that the fight for an equal world is a long one and a large one that will only ever be won through a long-term collaborative effort to address all of the different causes, economic, social, political, of inequality. But we also know that equality laws are an essential part of this puzzle, and that those laws only come into being and they're only implemented and enforced through the activities of equality defenders. And that's why we dedicate ourselves to supporting them with the knowledge, expertise, networks, and information that they need to do their work. It's also why the next step that we plan to take is so critical. As we look forward, we plan to establish a network, a meeting place for academics, activists, and advocates working on equality law, somewhere that they can come together to exchange information and resources, to share good practice and knowledge, ultimately to collaborate, to work together to gather evidence, advocate for improved standards at the international level, and then use those good practices to inform laws and policies at the domestic level.
At the Equal Rights Trust, we support those on the front line of the fight against discrimination by working in partnership to advance equality through law. The next step in our journey is to bring our partners together by creating a global network to unleash the potential of collective action.